Welcome. How's it going? It is March 26, 2025. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and I got with me Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
So, it is, we struggled. I'm not gonna lie to you. We struggled. There's not the dearth of topics that we usually like to come in with. It's been a week. I mean, a few things have happened, certainly. It's not the deadest of weeks, but it's also, I mean, this isn't like December 20 something when literally no news happens. But I feel like this week was pretty well dominated by politics. Especially in particular the fact that nobody even pretends to care about security these days. But I suppose we could have talked about the Signal thing, and aside from this mention, I don't think we're going to. But yeah, that's kind of been what we've come to expect from the tech news cycle, and how politics seems to drown out anything that matters.
Yeah, this week was a whole lot of real life stuff happening, and also in the case of tech sites, which we might talk about a little bit later, but I don't have a lot to say, is Amazon had another one of its don't call it a Prime Days this week, which of course then every retailer copied, because that's how the retail industry works in the United States now. Is Amazon decrees when it will have a sales event, and every store copies them. So I opened my Target app to see if something was in stock, and of course it's like, we have deals this week too, please come here. And I think Walmart's doing the same thing, because they've emailed me, or some company emailed me to say Walmart has the deals. So there's been a lot of things distracting from possible tech news this week.
Yeah, and the in particular that I got an email from a company that makes NAS products that was advertising that World Backup Day, that special event that we all celebrate with our loved ones. World Backup Day is March 31st, and they were highlighting that Amazon is having a bunch of their products on sale, which then as I go look on Amazon, it's like, oh yeah, big spring sale. Okay, so you're just jumping on that sale, and there happens to be an overlap. Cool. Glad that happened. And I'm not complaining that they're advertising their sale. That's fine. It's another thing that just feels generic. The one thing I will acknowledge, technically,
we have to remember the reason for the season with World Backup Day. Okay, I remember reading in school about how the founding fathers made World Backup Day, and I don't like it being commercialized like this.
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest, it's another greeting card holiday. Like, they made it just so they could sell greeting cards. Because every time I go into Walgreens, I feel obligated to pick up a World Backup Day card for everyone I know. At least everyone I know who has data that matters to them.
Yeah, Hallmark is definitely behind this, guys. Look it up.
Yeah. Well, it's them, but also all of those companies that got into making like photo albums, this is what their entire industry was built on top of. Their whole thing is literally, we're storing stuff for you. You need to pay us. And while you're at it, you should also probably pay us to print up special cards just for World Backup Day. Commercialization commercialization of our most valued holidays. It feels so un-American.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
Okay.
of,
Yes. So
um,
speaking of garbage, um,
yeah,
yeah. Which, by the way, thank you for creating that very easy transition. Um, Tesla has to recall 46,000 Cybertrucks over a faulty exterior panel. Yes, which in case you haven't seen it or don't know, there's a part of the Cybertruck which, if I recall correctly, it is the strip that runs between the front window and the side windows.
yeah, it's like
Apparently,
the blind spot
yeah.
beam.
Apparently, that can delaminate and fly off of Cybertrucks while they are rolling down the road. And since
Yeah,
it is just a
because
big, go ahead.
because even though this car looks like one giant piece of stainless steel, it's not. It's just like wrap. It's just the cover. So the cover was peeling off.
Yes, because instead of mounting anything properly, it's all glue, baby. Um, so yeah, this is particularly funny to me because the Cybertruck, since its release, has been recalled. Now I might have this wrong, but I believe if the numbers are accurate, over 1,000 times. I'm not positive of that number, but I believe it's been recalled a little over 1,000 times. So this doesn't look great. And according to sales figures that have come out about the Cybertruck, they're in their last quarter they sold, I believe it was 7,000 units. 7,000 in a 3-month span of time. Especially when you have people who are such loyalists who are buying these things just to buy them. That's bleak. And it makes me wonder, have they really only sold 46,000 of these? Because I kind of believe that's the truth.
I mean, that's more than I would have expected, honestly, given that this initially was like around $100,000, I believe. And there's not a lot of people with that kind of money right now.
Okay, you've got to remember they also gave away a bunch of these.
Yeah, it wasn't 100,000 for everyone, definitely.
Well, that too, but I mean, they gave away a bunch of these to some number of influencers, some number of like review units, effectively, that just kind of cycle around. There were a few of them that were like just gifts to foreign leaders and things like that. You got to figure there are at least a few of these that are like fleet vehicles that have been part of either contracts or like put out there just sort of like on loan. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there have been a few police departments buying these for some reason.
Because they have outsized budgets that they don't need, deserve, or make good use of, and they've decided to waste them on things like this. Gosh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, I'm gonna derail now. Much like the siding on this truck. There's sometimes things you live through, and then in the moment you kind of just don't think much of it, and then like 5 or 10 years later, you're like, "Wow, that was really fucked up." That's exactly what has happened to me. I remember in my high school, we had a day. I forgot exactly what it was called, but I think this is like a somewhat normal thing in American high schools, where there's just a day where all the like with the local police department comes out and like sets up and shows off like their like vehicles and kind of like what an emergency response looks like. In hindsight, it was kind of weird, but I do remember at the time walking past, they had like a bunch of like cop cars and stuff in front of the school, and they also had what, if I remember correctly, was just an actual tank,
Oh,
like
jeez.
like some kind of like super armored vehicle tank looking thing. And I'm not gonna like fully dox myself. I know it's really easy to, but I was in a uh, suburban county, like an hour outside of Atlanta. So this is not a large city. This is not a like LAPD and YPD level budget. Um, Totally didn't have a need for that where I was living. They definitely didn't need like basically a tank, and they also shut off their helicopter.
Which they definitely didn't need either.
Yeah. So that was one of those things where I look back, I'm like, wow, why was that there? What was the like? Okay, I guess you do need to like impress the kids. Like that's what you do with your tank, because you're not using that tank in your actual work in this like moderate sized town.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so and then this is also a tank, the Cybertruck. Except it doesn't work. And
the windows are more breakable.
Yeah, I mean the funny thing with the Tesla recalls is that the response to these from the Tesla people, the Tesla fans, not the company, is always like, well, every car manufacturer has a ton of recalls and they're just not covered as much as Tesla. And I do agree with that to an extent, but with Tesla, it's because the way the US does recalls is really weird, because recalls can also just mean like a software update.
Right.
And so just because the Tesla gets a lot of software updates, by volume, some of them are more defective and they have to fix them. So yes, the recall numbers are skewed for Tesla. Not denying that part. But this is also a originally like $100,000 truck that wasn't functioning as a truck, and also is failing in completely insane ways. And just it continues to fail in a very funny way. So I think covering every recall for this stupid truck is funny. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise.
Okay, so I might have this wrong, but I did look into this once years ago. And as I understand it, a recall, like an official recall, does not happen merely for, let's say, a quote-unquote software update. For something to officially be deemed a recall, what it usually requires is that it has at least some sort of defect or issue that has to be fixed, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for safety or critical anything. It just has some definable defect that needs to be fixed, and it has to somehow affect the car as a car. So here's the thing. A lot of Tesla software updates do not constitute a recall, and they are not officially deemed recalls, because Tesla's, like if they're just sending out a software update that like tweaks the music player or something like that, that is not an official recall. That does not get logged as a recall. So the numbers may be skewed, but they're not skewed as much as it sounds like. Tesla actually just has a really bad quality problem, and it's more than just, well, it's our weekly or monthly software update. It's not that. They're not racking up a bunch of false recall numbers because whoops, or not whoops, but hey, we decided we would add a button to our music player that now shuffles or something like that. That doesn't get a recall.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, because I think I want to say this is on my current car, my Hyundai Kona, but it might have been on my Leaf. But I've definitely had one or two recalls where it's just like, yeah, your car needs a little update. But because like my car doesn't have over-the-air updates, I have to take it to the dealership and they plug it in.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that kind of stuff is not necessary in a lot of cases with Tesla cars because they do push updates.
Yeah, and that was one of the other things is I believe recalls officially have to have something that you're supposed to take them in for. Now, not to say that you have to take them in for them. Obviously, you don't have to in many instances. And I believe I believe it can be a recall if it's something that you can fix yourself. But if you choose to take it into the dealer to do that thing for you, then then that would also constitute a recall event. But you obviously don't have to do that with Tesla software updates, unless of course they are bricked. Which, don't forget, that also happened just like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the videos where people are like, "Hey, my Tesla, it's stuck in park and I can't move it, so I need a tow truck to come pull it out of my garage to come take it to the showroom and update it."
So there was a separate event where a bunch of Teslas, the software just was stuck in a boot loop, like the actual car OS was stuck in a boot loop. I was also listening to a podcast. This is a few months ago.
The LG's electric car.
Yeah, nice. But I was listening to a podcast a few months ago, which was recorded a few years ago. But it was this Tesla owner, and the podcast is not about that, but sometimes he talks about this. He was talking about how most Tesla owners at the time knew how to force a reboot of the infotainment OS in the car while driving. They had to do it so often. It was just a thing where you learned how to reboot the infotainment in the car while driving. What? Why is that a thing? What? No one should have to learn that, which, don't get me wrong. Look, my Honda, which is at this point fairly old, it does have a few goofy glitches when it comes to Android Auto. Every once in a while it just fails to connect, and it basically, the only way to fix it is to stop the car, turn it all the way off, then turn it back on. Sometimes I think it also requires rebooting the phone. Yes, sometimes that happens, but that is like a once every 6 months to a year kind of a thing. It's not something that happens often enough that you learn the weird button combo in your steering wheel to reboot an OS. Like, that's... It's hard to wrap my head around how bad Tesla's software quality is, or just how inept evidently their hardware design is. If you have Cybertrucks literally just falling apart on the road, which, for clarity, when I say falling apart on the road, we kind of sidetracked on this, but the part that's coming off again is that strip between the front window and the side windows. That is a big strip of metal that when it flies off, it tends to land on the road, and has actually a few documented instances of then getting tangled up underneath the cars behind them. So this has happened. Like, this has caused actual severe damage on the road.
Me and my Mario Kart Cybertruck deploying a banana peel behind me. This is
Oh
great.
my god.
I love that Americans cannot build cars anymore. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I like my Kona.
Corbin, don't forget, not Americans, South Africans.
That's true. But also Ford.
Yeah.
Austin said, as a Chevy Bolt owner, I'm an expert on recall. Yeah, I almost bought a Bolt because that was one of the cars I was looking at when I made the, again, worst financial decision I've ever made in my entire life, and I hope will stay that way, was buying a used Nissan Leaf. And then only realizing long after I bought it that, number one, the first gen Leafs did not have Leafs did not actively cool their batteries, which most EVs do, so they degrade faster, especially in heat. I was living in Georgia, so that was a little bit of a problem. So the battery was degrading super quickly. So when I was looking at cars to replace it, I did look at the Bolt, and then I also looked at this was like a little bit after they discontinued the Chevy Volt, which I looked at. I wanted more, but also that was a car that was already discontinued, so that might get dicey if I need like repairs in a couple years. And so kind of just like every EV and hybrid didn't make sense because I knew where I was going would not have like a charger where I was living, which is like kind of the point of a hybrid. So I was like, all right, so I bought the stupid only gas Kona, and it's been fine. It's been like 5 years. Hoping it lasts at least another 5, because again, I need to recoup the Leaf. That was a big mistake. Don't ever buy a used first gen Leaf. There aren't many of those left anyway, so that's not the biggest concern.
Yeah, I would expect
if your commute is like down the road, it's probably fine. Nothing more than that, though.
Yeah. So, while we're talking about Tesla,
speaking of foreign cars.
Oh, did you have somewhere else to go with that? Oh, no, never mind. I get it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trump has announced.
Tariffs.
I believe these are not technically in place yet. He hasn't signed it, but well, he did say they would come into effect April 2nd. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if they're signed yet or not, but whatever. Trump has announced a 25% tariff on car imports to the US. So, in theory, car manufactured somewhere else, or I'm assuming that this includes parts, not completed cars. Then there would be a 25% tariff on them. So, presumably, car that costs you $20,000 is now going to cost $25,000, like just right there before any other taxes or fees get attached. It's just going to go through the roof automatically, as long as the car was made somewhere else. Now, of course, this is shoving a big fist right up the butt of Mexico, Canada, and
anyone
technically
who needs,
China.
Like a car in the US, because like I don't even know like what is. I know like Chevy and Chevy at least has a couple like kind of budget sedans and mini SUVs, but I don't know which of those, if any, are manufactured in the US. So I like really I guess, well, I mean, it's great for the used car market, but obviously everything's going to go up in price. So I hope no one needs to buy a car for a while. Again, assuming that these stay in place, because they set an April 3rd due date on this. In the past, I don't know how many times that we've had a tariff due, they get pulled at the last minute. So
yeah,
who knows?
This so far looks more like a stock manipulation scheme than anything else, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I pulled up CNBC's article to see if they had a little bit more detail than BBC. They said White House aide said the tariffs apply to, quote, foreign-made cars and light trucks, quote.
So that still doesn't
And
really answer the question of, does it include individual parts, or is this like completed or semi-completed vehicles? And I'm assuming this is going to include parts.
it sounds like the whole car. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that specifically denies or includes parts. Everyone's just saying the cars. I
Yeah.
don't know what the. Let's see, White House. I
Well,
can't wait to go to the White House website, and it's gonna have like the most insane thing on the homepage. Yeah, it's Trump giving me a thumbs up. That's cool. Okay, here's the. I'll put this in the YouTube chat. This is the executive order, I believe. It's cool. We're doing these. What do we need Congress for? Am I right?
I mean, that is an evergreen statement, but
Scrolling. All imports of articles specified in Annex 1 of this proclamation shall be subject to a 25% tariff with respect to goods entered for consumption or withdrawn from warehouse for consumption. For automobile. Oh, okay. So it's for the completed vehicles on April 3rd, and on the date specified for automobile parts, but no later than May 3rd. Okay, so parts are later. And the Annex 1, I believe they're talking about, is this one that says imports of passenger vehicles, which are sedans, sport utility vehicles, crossovers, minivans, cargo vans, and light trucks. What is a light truck? Do we have them? They all seem pretty big to me.
I believe that just means pickups.
Okay.
Like anything that is clearly not a conventional sedan style car, but isn't like a full size Ford F-350. You know, the stuff that lands in between.
The trucks that no one would use for their job, where they have to move things but just want to look cool, like those trucks.
Also, El Caminos. The car that is a truck that is a car. Okay, anyway, so yeah, this definitely includes parts. So that's fun. Anyway, I'm just going to call this what it is. This is, by reasonable definition, a reverse subsidy for Tesla. You know, it will affect a few other companies, or it will benefit a few other companies that also technically make cars in the US. But that's very few, approaching none. And in practical terms, I mean, this is basically just benefiting that group. And Tesla, I believe, is I could be wrong, but I think Tesla is the largest of the companies that still makes its cars ostensibly entirely in the US. It's worth noting that Tesla still gets some parts made outside of the US and imports those. However,
yeah, like I'm sure all the chips powering it are made elsewhere, because we don't do that here.
Right. So, and you know, not just the chips, but certainly a few other things. But if the individual components are getting a 25% cost increase, that's going to be relatively minor in the grand scheme of the car's total price. Whereas importing a whole car, or even close to a whole car, that would obviously be a much greater impact. So basically, by forcibly raising the price of imported vehicles, it's effectively giving it's the same as subsidizing Tesla. And that's how I think this probably should be framed. Is this is obviously a favor to Elon Musk, and as a result, it is by reasonable definition moving money around to make sure Tesla is getting a lower cost of operation, and by definition that is a subsidy. So if anyone is looking to call this anything else, they're either uninformed or lying. Yes, that's the hardline stance I'm taking on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. I think my issue with that is that it implies a grand plan that I don't think exists.
Oh, I'm not calling it a grand plan.
Yeah. It's just all chaos. Like, everyone in here knows that this will eventually be reversed, whether it's like a week from now or 6 months or a year. So if I'm GM and I'm deciding, like, do I just want to wait a year? Or do I want to spend however much money it costs to build an entire new car factory in the US? I'm gonna just wait a year. So,
which actually,
very dumb.
Speaking of GM, let's see, they dropped, looks like about 5% today. Might need to make a point of buying some of that tomorrow morning. Well, the point is, and I agree, all of these tariffs end up getting reversed or delayed or whatever, and every time that happens, like every time the tariff is announced, ooh, stock go down. Every time they're delayed or there's any other talk, stock go back up. And yeah, I mean, bear in mind, this is not investment advice. Do not listen to us because we're not experts in the topic of stocks or investments. That being said, I have eyes and the ability to recognize patterns, and this is a pattern I've been recognizing for a while. So, yeah, basically, watch for anything that Trump announces a tariff on. Wait for the tariff wait for the announcement to sink the stock's value, then go buy stock. And your odds are not guaranteed, but they're not bad. Honestly, like at this point, I kind of wish TikTok had... Actually, wait, TikTok's not publicly traded in the US, is it?
I don't think they are anywhere. I don't think ByteDance has... I don't know. I don't know how the Chinese economy works.
Because let's be honest, like, I kind of wish I had money on that stock. Just because, like, if you just buy and sell at the right times, and they're all predictable, like, you could make so much money.
Yeah. So speaking of collapsing, 23andMe the DNA testing company 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And I read their bankruptcy press release, and it was basically saying, like, we are trying to find a buyer to buy most of us or most of our assets or whatever. So they're just, they're trying to find a buyer for the entire company or parts of it or something. It's pretty bad over there. They have not been making money for a while. And yeah, so actually before they fully announced that they were seeking bankruptcy protection, the state of California put out an announcement that was like, hey, California citizens, guess what? We have this cool privacy law where you can request a company operating in California to delete all of your personal data. You should go use it for 23andMe. They didn't say that explicitly, but it was I think the exact wording was like, they're not doing so hot. You might want to consider doing this. And then of course, like the next day they said they were doing it, and I think a couple other states have said similar things, because again, we don't have like a really any federal privacy regulations. This is all on like a state by state basis, so if you don't have rights, sorry, sucks to be you.
Sorry, welcome to the United States. Glad you're here.
I don't think North Carolina has anything like this, so and of course this was after 23andMe had a big data leak in 2023 when they had data for 6.9 million customers breached. That didn't include like the actual genetic information of those people, but it was like emails,
Yeah, it was
social
their account
information,
details. Yeah.
yeah, like some family tree information, I think. So not good. Um, and yeah, if you can try to delete whatever you have, I'm pretty sure it won't do anything. But you should probably still try, because like if I was a corporation going through bankruptcy trying to sell myself to the highest bidder, which is what they've said they were doing, this is how this always works, then I would not be willingly allowing my value as a company to drop. And the value of 23andMe right now, a big part of it, is whatever data they have. So it wouldn't surprise me at all right now if I had an account there and I went to go delete my data, and it would say like, all right, we did it, and then nothing actually happened. That wouldn't shock me at all.
But
hopefully they are, but you never know.
All that said, there's also no harm in trying. Because, hey,
it's just a button. You've got to log in and click the button.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is certainly not something anybody wants to have floating around, or shouldn't want to leave floating around. There's obviously some privacy implications to this, and who knows when or if some of this data could be, maybe not today, but eventually become extraordinarily useful to, I'm not going to say malicious parties. Certainly that's a possibility, but even companies that are not necessarily malicious, but certainly maligned. A good example would be insurance companies would probably kill to have information that would indicate, when is this person likely to die of a disease? And 23andMe seems like a prime target for acquisition by any company that would want to sell that information.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they're about to get bought by like the worst data broker company you've ever heard of. That's where it seems like this is going.
Well, yeah, either data broker or, like I said, insurance companies.
Yeah, Geico.
Yes.
the gecko will know everything about you, and you cannot stop him.
I'm just picturing Farmers Insurance being a totally new kind of data farmer. But yeah, this is the dystopian future everyone was afraid of, except it just so happens it is a company that has been existing and managed to sell a bunch of people on the idea of, hey, you can find out if you're related to Genghis Khan, or oh, surprise, Einstein was actually like your second cousin's parent or something. I don't know. So yeah, I've fortunately never done one of these things myself, so hooray, I don't have to worry about it. But clearly plenty of people have done these. It was like the meme thing to do for a while, because everyone was doing this.
Yeah, these were like popular gifts too. I got one as a gift at one point, and I did not do it because it kind of worried me a little bit. So good job, Pass Corbin. That was 1 point for Pass Corbin, but also lost a point for buying the Nissan Leaf. So we're still not the best score. Austin did say, I was an early 23andMe customer. They're basically holding data Dallas hostage right now. The former CEO wants to buy it out. She's loaded and probably can.
Yeah, that would scare me as much as anything, because anyone who's that eager to buy a failing company probably also has bad intentions for it.
Yeah, no, they're gonna. It's gonna be actually the FBI buying it, so they can start organizing Americans into race categories. Just get that squared away. We don't even need humans to go check that, we can just buy it.
Well, that way they can ensure purity
Yeah.
of the bloodlines. And
Yeah.
now that I've said those words, oh my God, YouTube's definitely gonna spot that and
promote
hide
it.
this channel.
Promote it. You're
Actually,
gonna get
these days,
promoted.
well, yeah, I should just post this to Twitter because oh my God, I'll get all the reactions between between talking about Tesla so much and then talking about purity of bloodlines. Twitter won't know what to think about this video.
Yeah, I mean, like one of these seems like something that would be kind of fun, but yeah, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So really, the only companies that have like a lot of data about me are like maybe one of the ones that did identity verification and didn't delete identity documents. Maybe one of those. Disney probably still has my fingerprint from going to Disney World, so that's on me. But no one has my genetic information that I'm aware of. Maybe LabCorp. Maybe they're doing something silly with it. I don't know.
So, you just actually reminded me of something I was going to mention earlier, but I couldn't fit it in at the time. But when you were talking about how the police came to your school and were showing off all their expensive stuff, and there are stories I could tell relating to that too, but I'll skip those. Back when I was in, I think it was second grade, maybe third, maybe first. It was somewhere when I was pretty young. The police came to my tiny little elementary school and told us how important it was that they had a good rapport with the students, and that they if anything ever happened to us, that they could they could help find us if anything were to happen, like if we were taken or something. So they proceeded to, without consulting parents at all, they proceeded to fingerprint every single kid there, because that's normal. And yeah, those fingerprints were never used for that purpose at all. They were just trying to get those fingerprints so that they'd have them for future
it's for planting evidence later. When you're grown up, we're gonna put this fingerprint on a bag of weed, and you're going to jail.
No, they just wanted him. Literally, I found out for sure. They literally just wanted him because they expect most people have done stuff or will do stuff where they'll be able to get fingerprints, but they didn't have people's fingerprints on record that they could compare against. So yeah, it was entirely about just building out a fingerprint database, which this is before they really had databases to work with. It was just on paper, but yeah, they just wanted to collect fingerprints so they could catch you in the future.
Yeah, well, it was when you were in second grade, so it was on scrolls, right?
Papyrus.
Sorry, I had to do it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was trying to avoid getting too deep into that, but you had to. Yeah. It's okay. No, it's fine.
Yeah. So speaking of privacy violations, I guess, Apple confirmed the next WWDC. Dub as we call it in the biz, will be on June 9th to 13th, and presumably this will just be the standard affair of new major iOS update, new major macOS update, watch TV, all that fun stuff. Probably not hardware, but you never know. I think some of the speculation was that is the iPhone Air supposed to be during this or later this year?
Oh, I don't know on that one.
It would be weird to have a new iPhone at WWDC. I don't think they've ever done that. Okay, not that I remember.
they did. The original iPhone did come. I don't think it was WWDC. I thought it was
No,
earlier in the year.
it
But
was like Macworld. One of
yeah,
the other
back
things.
when that existed. But and then at some point they moved it to fall, so they've never had it during WWDC. They have, however, announced. They've definitely announced hardware at DubDub before, which, you know what? Now that you said we in the biz call it DubDub, I think I'm going to rename, or I'm going to start a movement to call it DerbDerb. It is now DerbDerb.
I can get behind this, I think.
Let's see. Thank you to Google for recognizing that I was going to ask the question, what hardware have they announced at WWDC? Sorry, DerbDerb. And here's all the Tom's Guide to You. But hey, we're just looking for the.
If it's on Tom's Guide, it might just be completely made up because they do that a lot.
That's true.
So I would not trust anything coming out of them necessarily.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well,
Last
geez,
year
all the
was...
pop-ups. What the hell, guys? Okay,
Yeah,
so according to this, the Power Mac G5 in 2003.
Okay. So that's a while ago.
Well, I think this is going in chronological order. I'm guessing. They did a hardware reveal of the aluminum cinema displays in 2004. The Mac Pro in 2006. Oh, the iPhone. Oh yeah, the iPhone 3G was a Derb. It's gonna take me a little bit. I'm gonna make.
I was going backwards just through Apple's press releases, and I got to 2023, and this was like all the hardware. Actually, this was the Vision Pro. This was the
technically
M2 Air.
Okay,
Mac Studio.
So, do we count it if it's a reveal, or do we count it if it's an announcement? Like, and I know that the distinctions there is like it's a distinction without a difference, but is it the hey, we've got this new thing and it's going on sale within the next few weeks? That to me, I'm calling an announcement, whereas a reveal is like the Vision Pro, where it's like, hey, we're making this thing. We're gonna have them on sale sometime next year.
I think it has to include both because Apple doesn't do the like Vision Pro type one very often.
They did it for the Apple Watch. They've obviously done it for the Vision Pro. They did it evidently for the Mac Pros. Most of the Mac Pros, I think, have actually been revealed at Derb, and then they just go on sale later. But yeah, as I'm looking through this, like the HomePod. Oh, actually, that one was pre-delayed too. The iMac Pro. Okay, yeah, that one came out very shortly after. So that was definitely an announce. Yeah. And Tom's Guide stops in 2019. So they missed. Was this an old article?
That's fine because it's still March 2020. It's
okay. This article's from 2022. So yeah, they just happened to stop before getting up to the year you found. But yeah, so they definitely have announced new hardware at Derb.
Yeah. And it seems like Mac Rumors' roundup says they're not really expecting hardware at this one, allegedly. So, yeah, I mean, I think that main thing is, I know there was some speculation that iOS 19 is going to be another redesign. It's going to have more of like the glassy, I think it's called, look of like the Vision Pro, where everything's sort of like that semi-transparent backgrounds. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think that's needed, but we'll see.
There's a lot of things that are not needed, but they're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, I just need Apple to copy and paste Android's notifications. That's all I want. Just like go back, and not even like current Android notifications, because I don't think that's like peak. I want you to go back to like KitKat, like copy like that exact UI with the notifications, and then you tap the button and it switches to the quick settings, and you could have like 10 quick settings on your screen. Like just copy that exactly, and that's good.
So you want it to be entirely unlike Apple.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do it, but I think that's peak like phone notification. It was all downhill from there. So I would like that. I would like, again, real custom web browsers. I would like them to make the iPad good. And what else? Oh yeah, I mean that new Siri that they promised like 5 times would be nice. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen though.
Yeah, by all accounts, that one's not even very
easier.
good.
You know what's easier than Gen AI Apple is copying Android's notifications. Get on that. Easy win.
True.
That is still like one of the most baffling things about iPhone to me, especially because in the iPhone UI, the lock screen is the same as the notification panel. So like I'll swipe up to see my notifications, and there's a big like giant clock taking up a third of the screen, and it's like I don't need this. I don't like why I have to scroll my notifications. I don't need the clock there. I know what time it is. You can just have a little clock.
Information density. How I miss you.
I know those. That is always the funniest thing when, like when you look at this happens with a bunch of different platforms just over time when the screens get bigger or higher DPI. Where like if you look at Android, it used to be like you could fit like 20 quick settings tiles on some phones if you really wanted to, and then now it's like you get 9, I think, like on modern Android phones. I'm not sure how big the tiles are these days, but you used to be able to fit a lot more. When the notifications took up like the whole screen, you have to scroll. There was a lot more of those, even though the screens were smaller. But it's just a lot more padding now, and it's the same thing when I fire up like a Windows XP VM or like Mac OS 9 on a big screen. It's like, oh, everything's very small. I have so much room for activities here. But yeah, do any of those, Apple. Any of those. Let me please unlock emulation and or virtualization on your devices. An iPad would be a lot more tempting if I could just boot Windows on it when I needed to. That'd be cool. I'm not gonna do that, but
wow, going for the big ask.
I mean, it's not, because they already have that framework working for their chips, and that would be an acceptable alternative to making iPadOS good, because they don't seem to be able to do that. So I feel like, why don't you just let me run a VM so I can run a real computer on your fake computer? But they don't let you do that either. So good times. So we'll see what happens at this here event.
Indeed.
Yep.
And of course, we will be talking about it because we can't help ourselves.
Yeah, if we're still alive. if the
June is like 18 years away, so
yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible Civil War II could start before then. And
to be fair,
being in the South doesn't give me I'm not sure I'm stacked for success here.
There is that. To be fair, if any company would still find a way to announce new products during a civil war or even a world war, it is Apple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they still really, like, COVID happened and shut down like half of the world's production, and the iPhone is just delayed by like a month. Mm-hmm. So could still, watching WWDC live in the independent Republic of California is going to be great this year.
Yeah. Um, though, man, that's gonna irritate so many people when they're reminded. Oh yeah, a lot of that money that you enjoy. Yep, totally still coming from and going to California. Um. Anyway, so speaking of, you know what, I had good transitions for this earlier. I'm not even gonna try.
I don't know if there's one yet.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna move this. I'm gonna change the order. I'm just gonna change the order. We're gonna go to the other topic first. Google and Android. So, right next to um the building where they make all the iOS stuff is a bunch of buildings where they make all the Android stuff. Yeah, they all kind of live close together. And Google is going to be taking some steps to become a little bit more iOS-like in their development of Android. They're apparently now going to move pretty much all, if not entirely, all of Android OS development into private. Now, this sounds a little bit scarier than it actually is, maybe. But essentially what they're going to do is take certain packages that are part of Android, like the Bluetooth stack, and they're just going to develop those entirely in private until it comes time to release those, release major new versions, at which point they will basically do a big code drop, which is something that they've been doing for years anyway. It's just going to encompass more of their tech stack. It's already a commonplace thing where Google develops a lot of stuff in-house, and then when it comes to a release day, they dump a bunch of code into AOSP, and that's kind of just, hey guys, here's the new Android version. I used to actually do the changelog updates on Android Police, but those are no more for a number of reasons. But yeah, so this is a change, but I don't think this is going to affect people too severely. For one, it obviously doesn't affect most people anyway, because most people don't really care about whether the code is open or not. But even among the people who do care about it, what this is going to do is basically take away the sort of some of the fringe and low interest things, again, like Bluetooth, where people obviously care about the development of Bluetooth, but they don't, there's not a lot coming out with the updates or with the code commits that are in public. So it doesn't really change what people are going to learn about Android on the way. However, what this will kind of stop is those occasional moments where some site or developer is looking at the recent commits, notices that somebody put in a comment that accidentally discloses some new thing that they're working on, or a code name, or whatever. Like, the risk of those sorts of things being accidentally revealed will be a little bit lower by changing this policy. And and in turn, one of the so-called advantages that they're getting is that they will no longer need to have a private and a public version of the code where they're working on individual things behind closed doors, and then they need to cherry pick what they're gonna reveal for the final versions. That's half true. If anyone has worked with large enough projects in Git, you know that this is not true at all. Because this is a problem no matter how much you do work in-house before revealing it to the public. So this is still just going to be an issue. Merge conflicts are a common problem. They've been made more complicated by the decentralized nature of Git, or semi-decentralized nature of Git. So this will make a little bit of their job easier, but it's not going to make it that much easier. I would say that aspect of this is being oversold. Anyway, so Corbin, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know really how much this changes anything except for like all the people who look. I think this mostly affects the people trying to cover Android before things are officially announced, and maybe it affects like custom ROM developers and those kinds of people, but I think most of the time they're probably waiting until like a official final code break to do most of the work anyway. Like I don't think the Lineage OS people are like spending their time constantly rebasing on whatever commit Google just released. And it doesn't really seem like, my impression is that most Android development is just with the GMS partners at this point. So I don't know how, Android is not really like an open platform in the same way as like, the Linux kernel has a lot of maintainers from like big tech companies and also just random independent developers. So I don't think this really changes anything. It does make this it does make Chrome a little bit more special though, because Chrome's development is still out in the open and it is still a mix of, it is more like Linux where it's a mix of developers from big companies and some independent work, mostly companies, but it is still out in the open in a way that I guess Android will not be. But yeah, I mean it's not surprising. As long as Android is still open source, I don't really have much to complain about here. Like I would still take issue with all the other things Google has done before this. Like just giving up on developing like any of the built-in apps on Android, to the point where like Lineage OS now in their blog posts, like every single time there's a major update, they're like, yeah, we made our own dialer app because Google just hasn't updated the one in AOSP for like 15 years. And now we made our own mail app because they stopped updating that, and so on and so forth. So, kind of just continuing that part, I think, is a bigger deal and worth criticizing, as Android's open source part kind of just becoming like the base software platform is open source. This one, I don't really have much to complain about. I think this is fine. Like it's still, Android can still be used for all the same purposes it was before. As long as it, like you said, like eventually is open with like the full documentation and history that we'd expect. Because some companies do like to do the thing where they're like, yeah, our project is open source, and you go look and the open source is a zip file, and that's it. So I would hope Google doesn't do that. But no evidence of that thus far.
Yeah, the one thing that I have a feeling we're probably going to see is history is probably going to be a little bit more controlled. So instead of, let's say, several patches in a row that might have appeared for, let's say, a Bluetooth vulnerability or something like that, perhaps there's an initial patch and then a couple down the road that fix or clean up code or do whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, well, we won't see it, we won't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of those get adjusted after the fact, so that you only see basically a branch is created, one big commit appears to have happened, and that's just the final version of it, and there won't be any history of the small commits that happen in the middle, because Git does support that sort of flow. So I'm not going to say that this is a good thing, because in theory I think the openness of it was a good thing, and I think generally an advantage. Plus, undeniably, and I know this for a fact, a few security researchers pay relatively close attention to a few specific projects, and those being open is helpful. Or rather, it has helped, because they've spotted issues and reported them to Google in advance. Perhaps those people might be given or have some internal access already, so maybe that'll continue anyway. And in theory, maybe this will slow down the discovery of certain issues, or prevent them from becoming issues that circulate out. We'll see. There are a lot of little implications to this, some of which good, some of which bad. I'm not going to say that I think this doesn't matter. I think there will be a lot of little side effects, but I just think that the number of effects that we're going to really be able to materially see, those are going to be very few and far between. And the biggest result, most of us as people who don't actively work on Android as at the code level, I think the difference most of us are gonna experience is just, we're going to see fewer stories about, oh, random code name was spotted in the Bluetooth stack. Obviously they're working on a blank, make up some piece of hardware kind of thing, which is going to really hurt two outlets where they love to spread rumors and make up their own narratives about what they think is coming. For the majority of sites, I don't think this usually isn't news, so they're just not going to cover it. Outside of that, in development communities, you mentioned ROM, the aftermarket ROM communities. I think a lot of them don't bother really incorporating the latest changes in most stacks.
Because why would you? There's not even really a reason to rush major Android updates anymore, because they're all so minor now. So if I'm doing this in my spare time, I'd probably just wait until the final build's done and then start working on it.
Well, not only that, but again, think about what these individual commits that they're going to make private. Most of this stuff is going to be it's going to be changes that for the most part you wouldn't see till the next version of Android anyway, and won't be useful until the next version of Android. So consider for a second, let's say I'm just going to keep using the Bluetooth stack because it gets referenced in this article a few times. But if it's the Bluetooth stack, let's say that they do add a new version of Bluetooth to it. We'll call it 5.4, because I think 5.3 is the most recent. I might have that wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's say that they add a new version of Bluetooth, and not a major version, but just a relatively minor update. Fun fact, that's not going to matter. Nobody making a third-party ROM is going to get any benefit from that new version of Bluetooth, because right now that's effectively just a driver, and there's no software that makes use of the new features or functions. And chances are you also don't actually have the real driver itself. You're just getting the part of the software that would rely on the driver that would make those features available if you had the hardware for it. Um, Furthermore, uh, there's in practical terms, most of the stuff that would matter would be adding a new API, internal APIs, not necessarily stuff that's available through the SDK. And nobody cares about that stuff if they don't have software that's going to use it. So, you know, that's not really going to make much of a difference. The other side of it is, in theory, like bug fixes and security fixes. And those matter, but the security patches are going to be coming out within a month. So that part's also going to be available. Just because you don't have it on day one doesn't mean too much. And plus, if you're a reasonably sized ROM maker, there's a decent chance Google might already have a relationship with you and is saying, hey, we're gonna have patches for this. We'll give you early access to them so you can roll them out too. I don't know if they're doing that with anybody, but I feel like by now Lineage should have a relationship with Google. If they don't, I'd be surprised. I don't know. Maybe they've angered Google enough that isn't a thing. But
they're like, guys, you have an updated phone app, and Google is like, don't talk to me.
Hey, yeah. How dare you bring up that? We're offended.
Yeah. So, yeah, not the end of the world. Just kind of, I don't know, expected. Because it is always weird when companies work on stuff like this in the open and they put like a lot of like things that should be private in there because no one really cares enough. Like it is always like it is kind of funny. You just like randomly see like, oh, here's code that reveals Google had like a Chromebook they were about to make and then ditched.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of stuff that has always made me wonder like, what is this getting locked down? Because I see that with Chrome sometimes. I still try to follow new changes to the Chrome feature flags, and there is occasionally stuff in there where there'll be a feature mentioned in a commit message, and I'll go look at the thread for that. It's password protected for Google employees. I'm like, what are you guys doing in there? But nothing quite spicy there that I've seen lately. There was a thing a couple months ago where they added a feature flag for testing buy now, pay later companies integration in Chrome, and I wrote an article about that, and then no one else covered it, and then also nothing has happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
So generally weird stuff. I'm not sure if they're still working on that.
Development's now happening in private, Corbin.
Yeah.
they'll just wait to roll it out for, they're hoping that you move to a different position and stop covering this stuff, then they'll roll it out.
That's okay, because no one reads my articles, or even when I write even like that was one of the articles I wrote that was like a banger, like that was a good news, Corbin breaking news, and I emailed that to a bunch of websites. I was like, guys, you should check this out. No, none of them checked it out. They hate me.
That they do.
They hate me because I say the truth, which is that Chrome's about to get really annoying with loans.
I mean, it's not untrue.
Speaking of getting annoying,
yes.
I don't know if that works.
I'm gonna allow it. I think it's valid. So this is kind of a small thing, but I feel like calling this out. So YouTube Shorts will evidently now start counting every time you scroll past a short that I believe at least starts autoplaying. Let's see. Yeah, so every time a short starts autoplaying, it will count as a view even if you scroll past it and basically don't watch. It's a small detail, but it's the sort of thing that does start to matter. And it has some interesting effects when you consider how it's been used and definitely abused in the past. Of course, this was a practice that started with Facebook, I believe. I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure Facebook was the first to start doing this. Basically, if a video started auto playing, and I believe if it played for something like 5 seconds, then Facebook would count it as a view. And by the way, I'm talking historically. This is back when they first started doing shady stuff. Because consider the context. Back at the time, auto playing videos were a thing on a few different sites. Twitter did it, Facebook did it. YouTube actually was. I don't think they started it, but they might have. It doesn't matter. But it used to be that it didn't count anything as a view until you'd watched, like, I don't know, a minute or the entire length of the video, whichever one came first. And then at some point, Facebook changed their policy so that, and they did so quietly, so that if you watched a video for, again, I think it was about 5 seconds, then it started counting it as a view. And they were doing this basically to claim, hey, we've got more views on Facebook than YouTube even gets. At which point, people started basically calling out Facebook and saying, you're lying. You're just effing lying. Like, nobody is watching those videos. They're just scrolling past the garbage and they don't get it off screen in time. Of course, this led to Twitter starting a similar policy, which this happened to certainly before Elon Musk even came in. Twitter was trying to inflate their numbers. And this led to kind of a race to the bottom. Like, how far will each company take it before it's just ridiculous, and as soon as like a second frame of video shows, like, it's automatically a view. And evidently YouTube is catching up with the pack, where now shorts are going to basically just count as a view if they start auto playing.
Yeah, and I should have thought to do this before, but I just Googled what counts as a view on TikTok, and they do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that, and so in hindsight, it now makes a lot more sense that there are a lot of people that get absolutely bonkers insane views on TikTok, and just nothing else. Like, you go, like, you see someone's TikTok and they have like 1 billion views, and you go to their YouTube channel and they have like 200 subscribers.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and to be fair, that's crossing
also that's conversion rate stuff, which is always bad, but it's
it's
similar factors.
I'm not necessarily going to equate the two, just because crossing platforms is a really difficult thing. You're, in most cases, you're literally trying to get people to leave one app and go to another app and like type something in to search for your channel so that they can follow you in a second place, where chances are you're also reposting the same stuff. Like, most people don't do that. Or aren't that interested in following somebody to that extent unless it's a really special channel. That said, what you can also spot is, even within TikTok, an individual video or even an individual channel could have videos where their view counts are several million views, but the channel's subscribers on TikTok might actually still be like a few hundred or maybe a couple thousand. It's not because the channel is actually doing that well as a channel. It's because they're really doing well at getting recommended. And they show up in people's feed. People watch like 3, 5, 10 seconds of it, realize, oh, this video sucks, and they scroll right past it. But
and having the information, I'm 100% positive this is Google going, Why does everyone think that Shorts has worse engagement than TikTok? Oh, it's because TikTok is inflating their numbers. Okay, let's do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because this is also the ongoing battle between different platforms. Is if you are a creator or a company or whatever, looking at all these different platforms and going, where is my stuff going to get looked at the most? All the numbers you have really are what the platform tells you
Yeah.
and tells its users. So, that's factoring in.
Yep. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, is because for one, this is definitely YouTube saying we want to make sure that we're being equally represented here and that our view counts are looking as high as everyone else's. But it's also the channels that care about this. It's just as much your regular YouTuber who's going, well, gosh, I post something to TikTok and the next day I have 2 million views. I post something on YouTube and it doesn't matter that I have like 8 million subscribers. My view counts are only like, 200,000. Why? Why on earth do I do better on TikTok? Well, this is the reason. And so a lot of those people are going to start seeing their view counts on shorts skyrocketing because, hey, they're getting recommended and they're getting autoplayed. So, and that's good for the channels. Not necessarily in the sense of like monetization, because if ads aren't shown, then they don't get any of that. But when it comes to showing off for brands, getting those view counts does matter. So if you're a YouTuber, you're posting shorts and you're trying to find sponsors, when the sponsors come to look at your channel and go, oh, well, we see that even your shorts are only clocking like 50,000 views. That's nice and all, but we're looking for bigger channels. We're looking for channels that are clocking like a couple million views. Now, as long as your videos are getting recommended and at least reaching the point of autoplaying, shocker, you're going to hit those view counts really easily. And that's going to make you more appealing to brands. And again, this makes you happy to be on YouTube's platform. Or rather, it won't make you unhappy about being on YouTube's platform as opposed to TikTok. So that's what this is. This is, making certainly the channels happier, but it's also serving YouTube in the sense that they get to brag about higher views.
Yep, I love platforms. I love the creator economy. It's real fun and is not just completely made up and could fail at any moment. It's great.
Oh, it has failed at any moment several times. The beautiful thing is it just keeps revitalizing itself in new and slightly different ways. Which, that being said, you should probably start making shorts of Tech Tales anytime you think about it, because your Tech Tales shorts will get crazy view counts, and that is what you're looking for. Yeah, and by crazy view counts, I mean like a few thousand.
Yeah. Well, I did have I made, I want to say like 5 maybe. I made 5 shorts for Tech Tales a long time ago, and I think I got like a couple subscribers out of them. It wasn't really worth it, because again, my only goal there was like making shorts, and then if they subscribe from the shorts, then they get the podcast episode, because that's the same channel on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my goal with those. So it kind of failed at that, but it was something. I'll probably make more at some point, just because it's practice for engaging with modern platforms and all. But mostly I just need to make new normal Tech Tales episodes. That's a higher priority.
Yeah. So pro tip, I say pro tip as if I've done this myself. I haven't, but I've read quite a bit about basically how YouTube rewards people for producing shorts. And to put it simply, they really want you to be producing on a very regular schedule, not necessarily every day, but like I believe the lowest that you really get rewarded for is, I think you can produce as few as 2 a week, but 3 is like, the difference between 2 and 3 a week is really, really striking. And again, you kind of get rewarded for relatively consistent time of release. So if you push them always at like 9 a.m. or something, then if you're hitting a consistent like 3 a week on the same days at the same times, YouTube will show you off a lot more. You will get recommendation, or you'll get recommended, like, I don't know, it's something like 50 to 100 times more often than you would if you didn't maintain schedule.
Yeah, I mean, my only goal with those is just like maybe get a couple subscribers. That was the most I'm hoping for. But yeah, it's especially with Tech Tales and how it's like an audio platform, it's really time consuming to skim through and find the bits in the big audio track of, what's useful for a short, and then I have to make the visuals because of course it's an audio podcast. I don't have like people's faces on it, so it's definitely just like a thing to try every once in a while and maybe get lucky and feeds me some new people.
Yeah.
So,
and yeah, one of these days I know I should start making shorts of the stuff that we say on here. I just have to actually get into the habit of doing that. Plus, just
please don't make shorts of when I say dumb things.
Oh,
I know you can. There's so much material for that.
yes, there is.
Try to pick something else.
No, I wouldn't go for blatant embarrassment material. I would actually, if anything, I feel like I'm more apt to go or to make shorts of like the rants that we go on, like the full scale moments where we just where we stop trying to aim for decorum and just full out like blast some company into oblivion with, oh my god, what are they doing? How do they think this is a good idea? That level of stuff. Because that's the stuff that does better. It's engagement farming kind of stuff. And yes, I fully admit I hate that stuff too, but it makes for good short form entertainment.
Yeah, definitely something I'm thinking about also in the context of the space bar. In case there's a person here who doesn't know, that's my blog and newsletter that I own. Because I was writing an article recently that just went up over the weekend about SEO blog spam and how it's kind of like ruined a lot of the internet and how you can maybe spot some of it. And I came across more stuff that was mentioning about how one of the main search engines now is just TikTok. It's just something I like forget about most of the time, and then I see a reminder of it and I feel bad. Because I also definitely saw that once, and I remember being so confused where I was with a friend and we were at his house for his birthday, and someone was like, all right, what's in town that we can go visit that's cool for birthday stuff. And someone in the group like opens TikTok and searches the city's name. I was like, oh, people do that. That's like I get it because Google is unusable, but like I don't know, that still feels weird to me.
I still honestly genuinely do not understand this. Because okay, fine. I get the concept of searching a town and like searching, I guess, for the videos, but that feels like such a terrible experience And what are you getting out of it? You're going to find a a few videos that give you people saying that they went someplace. That's it.
So, like that. Well, yeah, it's that, and also like I guess in the context of like all the like news organizations having TikTok channels, that I guess theoretically, if I did a TikTok search for, I don't know, Trump right now, like I'm gonna find a bunch of like news clips about stuff that just happened.
Okay,
So, like,
that makes more sense.
yeah, like I guess I kind of get it, but it does feel to me like maybe the worst possible way to consume information. But also, I'm now very good at identifying what is the spam in Google search results, and a lot of people aren't, or just give up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, okay. What I'm getting at more is, okay. Let's split this kind of into three different examples. One you just gave. If you want like current political news, that one's not hard. All you have to do is hop on there and I guess search for Trump or president or POTUS or whatever. And you're just going to get a lot of recent results. If someone were to go on there searching for, I don't know, I'm using this one for a specific reason, but if someone were to go on to, let's say, Instagram and search for makeup or something like that, or TikTok would work for this too, I can totally understand that because, yeah, you're going to get a bunch of you're going to get a bunch of videos that are recommendations and things like that. And you might need to filter that a little bit in order to get something useful. And I'm sure if you're just searching for makeup, you're going to get all kinds of results. Whereas if you're searching for like eyeshadow or something, you'll get something more useful. The thing is, though, I don't think you're going to get useful results if you want more specific information. Like, do you want something that's in a certain price range, or do you want something that is available in like limited supplies and you don't know a specific name or something? Or I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways that this makes sense. Anyway, then I think about restaurants, because I've heard this example given about 1,000 times and I can't wrap my head around this one. Because when I search for restaurants, like I can even go into Google Maps and search for restaurants and I have trouble finding places. Mm-hmm. Not because Google Maps is bad at it. It's just because there are a lot of results. A lot of times I can't filter them by what I want. Like if I want to find a place that's reasonably healthy to eat and not egregiously priced, how would you search that on TikTok? You're not going to find anything. There's no search term you're going to put in that's useful. I
hate Google Maps for like anything restaurant related, because even if you know like what you want, like if I open Google Maps and I type in McDonald's and it gives me the list, it's like randomly sorted McDonald's of like everything in the area. It's like I have to like go one by one and then open on the map and go, okay, this one's down the road, whatever.
Yeah, and that's the other problem with TikTok is you might be able to, if you're in a small town, that's one thing. If you're searching within a city, like, I don't know, if you're searching for sushi places in San Francisco, well, what end of San Francisco are you on? TikTok doesn't give you results like that, at least not from what I've seen. And so this is why I'm constantly confused how anyone gets search value out of TikTok for that kind of stuff. Again, certain things, yeah, I totally get it. But if it's like restaurant searches and you're in a big enough city, there's no way you're getting any useful results unless you're searching for something very unique.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like just an evolution of people using YouTube as a search engine.
But I mean, if it doesn't turn out useful results, at what point do you just say, okay, this isn't a search engine for this? Like if I'm looking for instructions on how to do a certain okay, actually good example. If I'm playing a game, I don't know, some video game, do I go on Google and search for a step-by-step guide on how to get through this one section? Hell no. I'm going to go to YouTube for that, because that's the right place to search for that. The result is going to be a video where I can just watch somebody do the thing I want to do. Same for, like, I don't know, fixing the plumbing in a toilet or something. Like, I want to go where I'm going to get the content in a form that's useful to me. I don't see how that's going to work for other things. And there's certain things that I'm going to go to Google for because I want the result in a written form. I don't understand how you're going to search for restaurants in TikTok, because the result is a video that is not very long. It's hard to filter. I don't see how that makes sense.
I don't get it. It's the kids.
Yeah.
Something's up with the kids.
The kids, they need help.
Yeah.
And there's some part of me that's wishing chat right now would pop up with some sort of answer like, oh, well, there's actually this secret API where, or not API, but there's this secret screen where all you have to do is tap this and tap that, and all of a sudden you can access like hyper local, all of your results are going to come back with just like only stuff within like a mile or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was interesting to me every time I've read that, where I'm like, so would it make sense maybe at some point to like try to make articles on the space bar into like short form videos? And which is, I don't know, maybe that's the thing I try eventually, but it's not like super high priority for me. Mostly because like there's not like a, you know, there's a different audience there, which I care about, obviously. Like, I'd like people to read what I write or listen to what I make or whatever. And there's different platforms and mediums for that. But also, like, I don't know, going back to the views thing, I don't know what, like, 100,000 followers on TikTok hits me. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, where do I go from there? Well, this is yet another platform where they assassinate you if you put an external link somewhere. So it's like, I don't know. But maybe it's all made up. Maybe, you know, I just get like 1 million TikTok views, and then I start going to sponsors, and I get, you know, there's the welcome to the space bar on TikTok. This one is sponsored by HelloFresh. Here's my HelloFresh box right here in front of my Windows phone that I'm talking about in this video. I don't know.
Okay, and now comes the point in the show where I have to say, not sponsored by HelloFresh.
Not sponsored.
Please, if you're considering getting any food subscription, let me tell you about Factor. No, I'm kidding.
Here's the other union busting food shipping service.
Are they? I honestly don't know. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I just don't know.
I know HelloFresh was union busting at their kitchens. I want to say Factor was too, but I think that might have been just a like food health thing they were doing. I don't know.
Oh, good.
Like I think they might have had like food issues instead, and I'm misremembering. I'm not sure. They're all just kind of not super ideal. But
and to any of you companies who would like to sponsor, I promise we're not mean to all of you.
Yeah, if you should be a company where I'm gonna use your thing. So you know, if like, I don't know. I mean, I'm running out of companies that like I would feel okay saying anything about, even if it was in like a disclosure. This is the sponsored part thing. Especially YouTube. Like, my goodness, is there like anyone that has ever sponsored on YouTube that's okay? Because I get a lot of the HelloFreshes. There's a couple of channels I've watched that are doing ads for, they've done ads
BetterHelp.
for SoFi. Yeah, BetterHelp's really bad.
Yeah.
SoFi is like kind of okay, but also they exist mostly as a student loan provider, and because they've lobbied against like every attempt to like cancel student loans. I know this is just an extension of like all companies are bad, but the YouTube sponsors are
Well, we can't forget Raid
lower
Shadow
grade.
Legends.
Yeah, definitely. God, I'm not in this world at all, but like I have to imagine there are so many crazy crypto companies that have done ads on YouTube. Well, Opera is one of them. I've seen in video ads for Opera, which is always disappointing. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen any from Brave. I'm sure they're doing some.
So let's see. A couple of other common companies. Honey, which, oh boy.
Yeah.
NordVPN, which I know a lot of people overlook it, but man, I would not go there. I wouldn't recommend it. Raycon, which I feel like Raycon's kind of faded out. I don't hear that name nearly like I used to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd feel differently about like, Raycon is kind of like more just harmless junk. Like, it's just, it's just a white label thing.
It's skull candy.
Yeah, it's just it's fine, but it's like, profit margin of 1,000%. That's really just the main issue. So I feel like that's better than browser extension that
actively steals from people.
Data.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not really worried about the privacy issues with like the random Bluetooth earbuds. That's probably okay.
Yeah.
Maybe sound quality is maybe not going to be as good as you'd hope, but it's
fine. Let's see. Audible is a common one. I struggle to decide where I land on Audible because it is predatory as a subscription service, but at the same time, I mean, fine, whatever, it's just a subscription service as long as you're using it, great. I guess from what I've heard, Audible is a little irritating to cancel, not like gym membership level of annoying, but
also they're Amazon, so
yeah
losing some points there for sure.
Yeah, that's probably the ickiest part. And then Squarespace, which okay, I hear them a lot, but
I don't think they're evil. I think it's just like,
I'm not going to call Squarespace evil. Certainly not, because I don't.
Certainly not because they're going to be a sponsor next week.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I don't think Squarespace is evil. I do think that they have a little bit of that, like, we really want to entice you in with the offer to set up a website for free and do this and do that all for free, but like every step of the way just sort of sucks you in a little further, and so it, again, like, it's not predatory, not in this, like, not in the malicious way that like Audible is, but and certainly not in the way Honey was, but it does feel like a few people get like slip into Squarespace and then they want to leave and never get to it. Like, it feels like that kind of a thing. So not bad in any sort of like evil sense, just it's one of those things that it's kind of, once you start, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, no, I'd buy that.
Let's
I have to.
Yeah. Let's see a couple of other names that pop up that I won't bother getting too deep into, but Manscaped pops up, Dollar Shave Club, Grammarly, apparently. I have actually seen Grammarly pop up in a lot of YouTube ads.
That's a no. Like any browser extensions, like automatic no, like that.
Well, Grammarly doesn't have to be a browser extension. You can certainly just use it on their site,
right.
But then
they're still training everything
exactly.
type. So
that's the thing. Grammarly is a data not data broker, but a data miner. Because they really want the stuff people are writing so they can train the AI on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as Google, right? Where like a very common talking point with Google is like, oh, they're selling your data. It's like, no, they're not. They're getting it from you and they're keeping it for forever so that they can target you with ads wherever you go. Like they're not selling anything.
Yeah, the last thing they want to do is actually outright sell it. They very much want to keep it for themselves. It's a competitive advantage that they don't sell it.
And for anyone listening, I'm still a Microsoft editor stan. If you're looking for a Grammarly replacement, I haven't actually used it in the web browser for a long time because they only have extensions for Chrome and Chrome, like browsers. They don't have a Firefox one. So I mostly just use it in Word at this point, but it has been better than Grammarly. I don't remember if I ever had Grammarly installed, but Microsoft Editor has been pretty solid for me for grammar stuff. Beyond just like basic spell checking, it does a little bit of a better job of like removing unnecessary words and that kind of thing, but doesn't quite get to the point where it's rewriting entire sentences because it thinks it knows better than me.
And it's this point in the video where I have to say, not sponsored by Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Corbin is giving away all of our sponsor slots.
Yeah. I'll even it out. I'll say something negative about Microsoft. The Xbox is still stupid for not using standard SSDs. Really dumb.
Oh man, I've got a lot of things I could complain about the Xbox over, but I did finally work out a hacky workaround so I could use a microphone with my controller, so at least that's been solved, which in all seriousness I'm actually probably going to make a video on fairly soon. It's not like it's anything complicated, it's actually just using a few audio cables that are hooked up correctly, but it's weird because I spent hours and hours researching how to do this correctly, and I could not find a single video that played the feedback loop that is caused if you do it wrong. I couldn't find a single video that actually said, oh yeah, all you need is this set of cables. You don't need this other thing that all these other videos say that you need. There's a adapter that all these videos say that you need, and that adapter costs by itself like $30 or $40 and is also no longer made, which is kind of funny. So it's this whole weird thing, and yeah, it turns out it's actually a really easy thing to do. You just have to make sure you get basically two cables and a little fixer adapter thing, a gram loop isolator. Sorry, couldn't think of the name of it for a second. And yeah, easy workaround. Oh, plus you need a microphone with a monitor out port.
Yeah. I mean, that's peak service journalism. It's just like, this shit's annoying. I finally got it to work. I'm gonna tell other people how to do it.
Yeah, and very specifically, and I'm not kidding, I'm going to make a point of specifically recording what it sounds like if you have this looped a certain way, like most people probably would try, because that sound is the problem. And if you don't know how to fix it, that's a problem. But once you do know, it's like, oh great, this is easy. The thing is, no one ever records what it sounds like. So yeah, I'm gonna make that video and post it to this channel. I just need to get to that.
TikTok for the SEO.
Actually, you know what? In all fairness, that probably actually should be a TikTok. Though my channel has one whole video on it, and I don't know that I even care about trying to build any following there, so we'll see. And ExpressVPN and Skillshare, those are two more.
No.
Yeah, Well, VPN companies in general are mostly gross. So yeah, there's that. Skillshare, I would just tell people don't. Well, okay, Skillshare isn't the worst of them. Advertising wise, maybe they are, but there are companies that produce worse content.
Yeah, that's in the Raycon category for me. It's like you just probably don't need to spend money on this, but like I don't think it's not actively harming anything. I'm assuming. Maybe I haven't looked at anything on there. Maybe they just like every video is misinformation. I don't know.
Well, it's one of those things. At least from what I've seen, most of the Skillshare stuff, they're doing the whole like you can become a software developer working in this thing or that thing, and once you check out what their whole course is, it's going to be like, oh, you can learn how to do this in 45 minutes. Yeah, nobody's going to learn anything of value in 45 minutes of your video course. You're going to spend the first 10 minutes babbling about like what the course covers. Then you're going to spend like 20 minutes giving the very, very most surface level overview of it. You're going to talk about like 2 or 3 actual useful tips, and then you're going to spend 10 minutes closing out and saying, come check out my other courses. That's not useful to anybody. You can go watch a 5-minute YouTube video that has as much information and gets there faster, and no one had to pay for it. So yeah, most of what I've seen in Skillshare is kind of junk. And when I say that, we'll just say that I've seen some of the content but never been a active subscriber or active payer user, whatever. Well, okay, I don't know if this is something that we want to count, but there is like Curiosity Stream and Nebula. But it's the people that are part of that are advertising it, not so much necessarily like creepy advertising.
I think that's fine. Like it's basically just like that's in the same part of my brain as like a YouTube channel promoting its own Patreon. Like
right.
That's almost like not even like really an ad to me if they're involved in it. That's just like, here's my other work on here. Go give me money.
Oh, Wix. Okay, yeah. I mean, if we're gonna say anything is at all off about Squarespace, Wix is like 100 times worse. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I use iWeb to make my websites. That will eventually be an article. That was like at least 10% of the reason why I set up the Mac Mini. Was I wanted to use iWeb again and make a website with it and write about all the ways it's weird. From like a web dev perspective, I think that'd be fun. I will do that at some point. I don't know when, but I remember back in the day there was like a lot of complaints about it being like just the weirdest piece of software in terms of website building. Like how I'll check if this is true, but I remember reading that with iWeb, every single web page had its own individual CSS file. Like there were just no shared styles across the website. So you're just downloading like way too much stuff for every single page. And then I think like all the usual things of like all the websites look totally broken in Internet Explorer, but that was Internet Explorer. So
yeah, everything was broken in IE, even the stuff that was made to work in IE.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I think that'd be fun, so I'm gonna do that at some point.
I just remembered another one, but it's great because I also know a YouTuber that let's say debunked it. So Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is one of those cereals that claims it claims to be this like really healthy or maybe not really healthy, but fairly low sugar cereal that's like supposed to be really good for you and supposed to taste great and blah blah blah. So there's this YouTuber that I follow who is totally a camera space guy. Like he reviews cameras and lenses and stuff like that, or at least used to. He's kind of branched out in the last couple of years. Anyway, he's also he's when he first started YouTube, he had a very goofy, weird side. And this is before I before I knew anything about him. And he, for a little while, he started kind of going back to the goofy, weird side, and so he decided he was going to start reviewing the stuff that gets advertised on YouTube. And so he decided to do Magic Spoon, and here's a link to his review of it. I remember this video, and oh boy. He basically said, he basically went off about, one, how wildly overpriced it is, and two, how gross it is. Basically,
yeah, I remember.
It
yeah,
is.
I watched.
It is apparently awful.
Yeah, I think I watched like one of the YouTube people I like did a video on it, and they also said it was kind of gross.
Yeah, it like.
Also, the link you posted is the Tariff article on the BBC.
Wait, how did what the hell? I right clicked on this, copy link. Make sure.
The link also only, in the chat preview, it only had like the website /news. I was like, oh yeah, this guy on YouTube got an article in the BBC. Good for him.
Okay, there's the proper link. It's a guy named Gerald Undone, or well, channel named Gerald Undone, and yeah, it's a full 15-minute review of his opinion of Magic Spoon, and he was not kind to it, which is excellent. And I had searched for this, and just down below it is a bunch of shorts of all these people, most of them you can tell are just full on shilling for Magic Spoon. There are a couple here that maybe aren't, but
I think, yeah, I think that kind of stuff I would also put in like the Raycons category. Where,
yeah,
like, it might be like junk, but it's not like actively harming you. Again, highly dependent on if the food product is actively harming you. Like,
yes.
I think this is a very different conversation if it's like, oh, a food where there's like definitely causing food poisoning on a regular basis or something.
Oh, well, it's not Chipotle. But
it's not I'm not doing ads for the lemonade that kills you instantly at Panera.
Oh yes. Oh god, yeah, that stuff. Well, I would also say, it needs to not carry one of those labels of this contains something that the state of California considers to be cancer causing. Those good old warnings are solid. Oh man, this stuff is so, yeah, I don't know. So yeah,
do a tier list of Cody's future sponsors.
I know, right? Yeah, how much money did I just kill off with this one rant about?
I mean, it's fine. Like, the people only go back in the video histories when someone's getting canceled. So as long as you don't do that, no one's gonna find this part in the video. It's gonna be fine.
Wouldn't that be great? Well,
until
no,
you make a short of it.
no. Eventually, AI will be used to scan people's channels to see if anyone's ever said anything negative about any sponsor or potential sponsors, and they'll just use that to blacklist channels. I say that somewhat kind of serious. I bet that will become a thing if it isn't already.
I mean, I'm sure they'll do that to an extent, but also I think most of the companies that advertise on YouTube, they're doing it because they're, maybe don't care all that much in the first place. So,
I wouldn't bet on that, but yeah, who knows? Anyway, we've probably gone on this tangent for long enough.
Yeah.
So shall
I think
we?
need to go soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should probably wrap it up. Okay, so with that,
Thank you to our sponsor today. Which one?
Raycon Spoon.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Oh no, Square Raycon Spoon. Yes.
Yeah. The earbuds you can eat.
Yes, and gives you a website on the internet.
Yeah. Please don't eat the earbuds. That was a joke.
Agreed. Because
Do
they
not consume lithium-ion batteries. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, and as it turns out, they contain chemicals that the state of California believes cause cancer. So anyway, Corbin.
The state of me also believes they cause cancer.
Yes. Well, they cause ear cancer, so this is not actually necessarily true. We do not know if they cause ear cancer. Disclosure. Legal disclosure.
The skull candies, though, absolutely. There's no doubt.
Also, no confirmation of that. To not consider this medical advice or legal statements. It's weird because a little part of me actually thinks, should I actually say this for safety? Anyway, so yeah, Corbin, is there anything you would like to pitch, talk about, mention before we go?
I'll put Spacebar link in the chat, spacebar.news. Go there, subscribe or follow it or whatever. I did publish an article on Monday that was kind of talking about some of the ongoing discussions about AI for information and search engines, and what you can do. Something I've wanted to write about for a long time, and I don't think this fully covered it, so I might do it more of it, is just how to have media literacy. Because that's getting really important, and a lot of people don't have it at all. And I'm not a super big authority on this, but there is a lot of advice that I've received over the years that's helpful there. So I'm putting some of it in here.
Yes. So, classic notes. Obviously, anytime you get to a website, just hit Control F or Command F and search for Valnet if it comes up in the never mind, you get it.
Unless it's an article I wrote, because everything I say is always correct. That's actually what this article I wrote says. It's just it's real when I wrote it, and it's fake when I didn't write it, and that's how you do media literacy.
First off, I'm just gonna say you don't need to make that exception for me. Everything I write is pure BS anyway. It's fine. But second, you also can't trust everything Corbin has written, because and unironically, there's a decently high chance somebody else has come along since he wrote it and made modifications to it, and republished it, and
that's true.
Their name may or may not actually be on it.
Yes, I did have to ask a website that shall not be named to remove my name from 10 articles because they kept getting updated and they were wrong, and I had people finding my email address and asking me for help. And I tell them, sorry, I didn't write any of that. Mm-hmm. So that's really fun. That's a cool thing. Yeah, just go to the space bar and check it out and read it. Find a cool article and send it to friends. Also do that for everything. Just, when you find something cool, share it.
Share, like, and comment.
That's your homework.
Share, like, subscribe, and comment. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so now that we've hard shilled and killed some number of bridges. Anyway, and as for me, I will be around this weekend gaming, playing some Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, pretty much at the usual times. I don't think I'm going to be venturing out to do any other stuff on the side this weekend. And of course, we will be back next week, again on Wednesday for the RambleCast, where we'll do the same thing we did this week, but maybe we'll sound smarter. But with that,
sponsored by Raycon.
Stop it.
I said they're fine. I said I wouldn't have a problem shilling them.
We are definitely not sponsored by Raycon.
Unless the earbuds are blowing up and I don't know about it. They seem fine.
And one of these days I'm gonna get like a real company to sponsor this channel, and someday.
And I won't make fun of them. Unless it's ExpressVPN.
Unless it's BetterHelp.
Yeah.
If it's BetterHelp, I will actually be mad at you if you don't make fun of them.
If I don't leave, I'm just gonna hit the bricks.
Now, don't get me wrong. Part of me wants to take their money. I just don't want to. I don't want to show for them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, with that, of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: Austin, Carson, David, Diablo, and Curvy Mermaid. Big thanks to Corbin for coming by. If anyone would like to be a supporter of the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And I think that is pretty much everything. So I hope you all have an excellent rest of your week, a good weekend to come. And may I advise you, dear God, limit your news intake, because it all sucks. Except for the part where we get to make fun of the highest ranking security members in the country who don't know how to control invites. Oh my God.
Limit your news intake unless it's mine. Because again, I'm always right, and you're better off for reading what I write.
And
also thanks Austin for hanging in there for however long this was. Maybe David's still here too, I'm not sure. Could be.
Yes, definitely. Big thanks to Austin, who has also been the active chatter in the room.
Yes.
Glad to have you around, bud. Okay, with that, well, good night, everybody.